Zola Spark, and the Whistle of Bravery. In a city that sparkled like a treasure box under the sun's warm light, where buildings rose up to gently poke the clouds, there lived a girl named Zola Spark. She had hair that glittered like the sun's very own golden streaks and eyes as blue as the sky on a clear day. Zola was just 7 years old, and her cape, a rainbow against the city's gray, danced behind her as she skipped from one rooftop to another, her laughter floating in the air. Zola's home was a snug spot on top of the tallest skyscraper, with windows that showed her the whole shimmering city below. She spent her days filled with laughter and play, and at night she'd count the stars, her little fingers drawing shapes on the glass. But even superheroes have problems, and Zola had one that made her feel not quite so super. Sometimes at night, her bed would be wet in the morning. She felt a big twist in her tummy, worried about sleepovers with friends, wondering if her secret might make them giggle. She wished more than anything to be as brave at night as she was when flying high above the city. Her trusty friend, Nugget, a robot dog with sensors that shone like purple gems in the moonlight, was always with her. "Zola, you're not on your own," Nugget would say, with a beep that sounded like a kind buzz. "Many young heroes face the same challenge, but together we'll find the happy feelings again." "I wish I could stop this," Zola thought one night as she held her knees tight. Nugget nudged her hand with his chilly nose, his tail moving in a beat of comfort. "Once, there was a young wizard who lost his magic spells," Nugget shared. "But with time and bravery, he found them again, and you will too." Zola dreamed of sleeping outside under the stars, sharing stories by the warm fire without the shadow of her worry. But the thought of waking up to a wet sleeping bag, under the curious looks of her friends, made her heart heavy, like a sack of rocks. "I know there's a way to be braver at night," she whispered to herself, her voice barely a sound. One sunny day, as Zola and Nugget played hide-and-seek amongst the clouds, they found something strange hidden in a corner of their secret base. It was a whistle, shiny and bright, with a note that seemed to last forever. Curious, Zola played the whistle, and out came a sound that wrapped the city in a soft blanket of peace. Carved on the side, a puzzle waited for them. "Heroes with brave hearts and true, find the bravery that's inside you." Nugget's sensors blinked quickly as he figured out another secret message. "And be careful, because if bravery goes away, the city's light will be replaced by nonstop shadows." "It looks like our next big adventure is calling," Zola said, her voice firm but her hands shaking a little. Could this journey help me be braver at night? She wondered, feeling a little flicker of hope in her heart. With the whistle safe in her pocket, Zola and Nugget started their new journey. They flew through the air, the city a swirl of colors and life below them. Nugget made a joke about a flying taxi that got stuck in a cloud traffic mess, and Zola laughed, the sound mixing with the whistle of the wind. As they moved, Zola's thoughts went back to her secret struggle. Will I find the answer on this journey? She wondered, nibbling her lip. She then shook her head, her determination making her face firm. No matter what, I'll try. The two found a mysterious woods at the edge of the city where the paths wound around like twisty sweet ropes and the leaves whispered secrets. They stood at a crossroads, not sure which way to go, when the whistle in Zola's pocket started to shine. A tune leads the way. A gentle tune played, and the music seemed to skip towards the left path, asking them to come along. Trusting the wonder of their special thing, Zola and Nugget breathed in deeply and walked into the unknown, the woods greeting them with welcoming arms. As Zola Spark and Nugget moved through the whispering leaves, the woods seemed to sing a hello song just for them. The branches moved slowly, as if showing them the way along a path filled with spotted sunlight and shade. Zola's heart moved to the rhythm of the woods' song, and for a short time, her worries about wet nights felt far away. the circle of stones. Their first stop was a clearing where flowers bobbed in the wind and the air smelled of wildflowers. There, a circle of stones glowed softly, each one with a different mark. "Look, Nugget," said Zola, pointing at the stones. "They're like little moons showing us the way." Nugget made a beeping sound to agree, his purple sensors looking at the marks. "It's a puzzle, Zola. We must push the right stone, or the path will disappear." Zola's sky-blue eyes grew wide. The thought of being lost in the woods made her feel a chill of fear, like when she thought about her secret. But brave heroes face their fears, she told herself, her voice quiet in the open air. She looked at the stones, nibbling her lip. Then, with a big breath, she pushed the one with a sun drawn on it. The stones shone brightly, a golden walkway appeared, and they followed it to their next big adventure, the river's riddle. The walkway took them to a stream, its waters sparkling like a waterfall of jewels. But as they got closer, the stream became a loud river, and they needed to cross. On the bank stood a heron with feathers the color of the morning sky. "To cross the river, you must stand on stones that match the beat of your heart," the heron said in a voice as clear as the water. Zola listened to the thump-thump of her heart. She stepped onto a stone, and it stayed solid. Another step, another stone. She felt a rush of pride. She was doing it. She was really doing it. Nugget came after her, his metal feet making soft clinks. When they reached the other side, Zola looked back at the river, feeling like she'd left a bit of her fear on the stepping stones. "We can do anything if we listen to our hearts," she whispered, her confidence growing like a small flame at night. High hopes in the treetops. Their next meeting was in a place where the trees were so tall they looked like they could touch the sky. Here, they met a wise old owl with feathers that felt like quiet words. "Zola Spark, to rise above your fears, you must climb to the very top branch without looking down," the owl said softly. Zola's breath stopped for a moment. Climbing so high was scary, like the fear she had at night. But she remembered the river and the stones. Up she went, Nugget making encouraging beeps from below. Higher and higher until she was at the top. The world below was a quilt of greens and browns, and she felt like she could reach the clouds. "I did it, Nugget! I didn't look down!" she shouted, her voice full of victory. And as she climbed down, the owl gave her a feather, soft and fluttery. "Keep this to remember your bravery," the owl said. The heart of the dark forest. The last challenge was the scariest of all. They came to the edge of a dark woods, where the trees were twisted and the air was heavy with things unsaid. It was here that Shadow Blaze appeared, his eyes like red fire cutting through the dark. "Zola Spark, you think you can get over your fears? Prove it. Get the gem of bravery from the middle of my woods, or the city will always be covered in darkness," he thundered, his voice bouncing off the trees. Zola's hands shook, but she stood tall. She looked at the whistle in her pocket, which now shone with a friendly light. She played it, and the sound filled her with power, covering her like a safe blanket. Into the woods they went, the trees whispering doubts. But Zola kept going, her will as bright as her hair. They found the gem, shining with a light that pushed away the shadows. As she took it, the woods changed, the trees got straighter, and their leaves turned a lively green. "You've done it," Shadow Blaze said more gently, and he faded into the night, his red eyes going dim. Zola held the gem up high, and the city below lit up, the darkness fading away like a bad dream. She felt a burst of happiness, her heart as light as the owl's feather. She had looked her fears in the face, and she had won. As they left the woods, the whistle in her pocket turned back to shiny metal, its note staying in the air, a promise of worry-free nights. A rainbow stretched across the sky, leading them home, each color a word of hope and bravery. Zola smiled, her blue eyes shining with the colors of the rainbow. "We did it, Nugget. We found the bravery inside us," she said, her voice strong and full of happiness. And so, Zola Spark and Nugget followed the rainbow back to the city, ready for any new adventures, knowing that with each other and the bravery they found, they could face anything. The end of this adventure was just the start of many more. Triumph at twilight. As the rainbow disappeared into the soft light of evening, Zola Spark and Nugget headed back to the city. The skyscrapers greeted them like old pals, their windows twinkling with the farewell of the sun. Zola's heart felt as light as a feather, and her cape flew out behind her, a flag of the bravery she now had. "I feel different, Nugget," Zola said, her voice strong and clear, "like I can do anything. I have the power inside me. I am strong. I am brave. I am a hero." Nugget moved his antenna tail, and it played a joyous tune in reply. "You've always had it in you, Zola," he said, his purple sensors shining with happiness. They landed on the rooftop of Zola's home, the lights of the city spreading out below them like a sparkling blanket. The air was cool and refreshing, and Zola breathed in deeply, her lungs full of the night's freshness. That night, as Zola got ready for bed, she felt a tiny hint of her old worry, but she smiled and whispered back, "I am a hero. I can face anything. I am never by myself." And with that, she went to bed, feeling safe and cozy. The next morning, Zola woke up to sunshine coming through her window and a dry bed. She leaped out of bed, a huge smile on her face. "I did it, Nugget! I really did it!" she shouted. Nugget beeped cheerfully, his tail wagging faster than before. "I knew you could do it, Zola," he said. From then on, Zola faced each night with courage. Sometimes she would remember the dark woods and feel a flutter of her old worry, but then she'd remind herself, "I am brave, I am strong, I am safe," and the fear would disappear like shadows at sunrise. New adventures await. One sunny day, Zola was playing in the park, her laughter joining the sounds of other children having fun. She was clambering up the tallest slide, a tower that stretched up to the sky. For a short moment, she paused at the top, but then she remembered her adventure and the gem of bravery. "I am a hero," she said to herself, and slid down fast, feeling the breeze in her hair and a burst of happiness in her chest. As days turned into weeks, Zola tried new things, made new friends, and shared her story of courage. Nugget was always at her side, his purple sensors a constant reminder of their shared good times. Years went by, and Zola grew into a sure young hero, always ready to help out. She remembered the wise old owl and the heron by the stream, and their advice stayed in her heart. One day, she met a little boy who was frightened of the dark. She knelt by him and said, "You know, I used to be frightened at night too, but I found out that I am strong, I am brave, and I am not by myself." She told him about her quest and the magic of believing in yourself. Zola watched as the boy's eyes brightened with hope. "Really? I can be brave too?" he asked. "Yes," she smiled. "All you need is already inside you." And so, Zola Spark lived a life full of adventures and brightness, her days made more joyful by knowing she had faced her fears. She became a shining light of hope for others, her story a proof of the courage we all have inside.